the souls of those who had been slain for the word of God.
Hello, my friends.
For the testimony which they held.
Thank you for joining me today.
They cried with a loud voice. Saying,
this is episode 14. I'll be reading Genesis 8. Now, it seems really short. I might go ahead and read Genesis 9 also. We'll see how it develops. Maybe I have a lot to add to this one. I don't know. I don't remember. Okay, I'll get right into it. Thank you very much for joining in. I really appreciate it. Friends and family, hello. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in to see my face. Here we go. Genesis 8, Noah's deliverance. Then God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the animals that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. The mountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were also stopped. And the rain from heaven was restrained. The waters receded continually from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the waters decreased. So they'd been at sea for 150 days, floating around with no mast or sails or anything. It was just a life raft floating around for 150 days. At the end of the 150 days, the waters decreased. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month. I guess that's July 17th. On the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. Wow. So it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. Then he sent out a raven, which kept going to and fro until the waters had dried up from the earth. He also sent out from himself a dove to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground. But the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot, and she returned into the ark to him. So he's sending out birds through a little window to see if the birds can find any land, and they're not finding any land. So he put out his hand and took her and drew her into the ark to himself, and he waited yet another 7 days. And again he sent the dove out from the ark. Then the dove came to him in the evening, and behold, a freshly plucked olive leaf was in her mouth. And Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. So he waited yet another 7 days, and sent out the dove, which did not return again to him any more. So the dove found a house, a place to live. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, so January 1st, Noah was 601 years old. And it came to pass the 1st day of the month that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked. And indeed, the surface of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dried. So, I think he left on the second month. So he's been locked in that ark for a year. Uh, 27th day of the month, the earth was dried. Then God spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the ark, you and your wife, and your sons wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing of all flesh that is with you, birds and cattle, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, so that they may abound on the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him. Every animal, every creeping thing, every bird, and whatever creeps on the earth, according to their families, went out of the ark. God's covenant with creation. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and took every clean animal, and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. So the first thing they did after they opened up the ark was to build an altar. And the first thing they did was offer sacrifices to God of every clean animal and every clean bird. Wow. That's why he took extra clean animals, but only 2 of the unclean animals. So he had extra animals for this purpose. Offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a soothing aroma. Then the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground for man's sake. Although the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, nor will I again destroy every living thing as I have done. A quote from God, While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read Genesis 9. I've got to make a note of this because that was so short. Then I want to touch on Revelations again a little bit. So, after a year, they got out of the ark. The waters had receded back into the ground and into the clouds. Plants were growing up, and Noah released all the animals and the insects and snakes and stuff. And God said, I will never again destroy every living thing as I have done. So, I'll go ahead with Genesis 9. God's promise to Noah. So God blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, Be fruitful and multiply. I'm going to go back to 8 for a second. Touch on a few points here. Because of Noah's righteousness, God remembered him and all that were in the ark. And the Lord moved nature on behalf of this remnant to bring them out of the boat. They would be the means by which God would restore and repopulate the earth. Remembered does not mean that God forgot, but that he took action to fulfill his promise. As it says in Psalms 106:4. Noah's faith, obedience, and righteousness have been commended throughout this account. As careful as he was to obey God's commands before the flood, he was equally patient and purposeful while waiting for the waters to recede. Yes, he was very patient, apparently. Noah first his first act upon exiting the ark was to build an altar commemorating the Lord's deliverance. This set an important example for his sons, who would be of the Adams of the post-flood earth. I think it's important to be grateful for your blessings. I know I am incredibly blessed to be born in America, where other people have such a hard time, and I've lived relatively a long time. I see all the time of young people. I think just yesterday, it was a car accident. Yeah, there was a car accident in Texas. This family was in a van, and somebody hit them. They went off the side of the road, and a young man died. He was like 21. The father had his face ripped off, but they gave him plastic surgery, and he looks a little different, but very, very good. I mean, I'm not saying he's a model, but they did a great job of repairing putting his face back on. There was a little girl. She was just bruised up. Anyway, I'm just blessed, I think, to be alive, and especially be in America with an abundance of food and water, a house. It's good to think of that and always thank God. And now that I'm aware of that, and that actually when I thank God, it makes me happy. So, and God likes that when you pray to Him. It makes Him happy. So, I want to thank God every day for the rest of eternity for what He's done for me. All right, now we'll start with Genesis 9 again. So God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply." And fill the earth, and the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and every bird of the air, on all that move on the earth, and on all the fish of the sea. They are given into your hand. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs, but you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. Surely for your life blood I will demand a reckoning. From the hand of every beast I will require it, and from the hand of man, from the hand of every man's brother I will require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. For in the image of God He made man. And as for you, be fruitful and multiply. Bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply in it. Oh, so he's saying do not murder, I think. Then God spoke to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, "And as for me, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the cattle, and every beast of the earth with you. Of all that go out of the ark, every beast of the earth, thus I establish my covenant with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood. Never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth." And God said, "This is a sign of the covenant which I make between me and you, and every living creature that is with you. For perpetual generations I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be for the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. It shall be, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the rainbow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. The waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. The rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I will look on it to remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. And God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth, Noah and his sons. Now the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was populated. And Noah began to be a farmer, and he planted a vineyard. Then he drank of the wine and was drunk, and became uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brothers aside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. So Noah awoke from his wine, and knew that his younger son had done what his younger son had done to him. Then he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants he shall be to his brethren. And he said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. So all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. That's the end of Revelations 9. Next week I will continue with Genesis 9. Next week I will continue with Revelations 8. And I wanted to touch a little bit on Revelations again. Just to give I'll try not to repeat myself. I know that annoys me. I'll try not to do stuff that I don't like. I'm just going to touch on the Revelations real quick. The rapture is Christ's coming is imminent. There's no other prophecies that need to be fulfilled before the rapture comes. Also, John said that when the Antichrist and the false prophet kill the two witnesses, which I think is Noah and Noah and Ishmael, I think. Those two prophets are untouchable. Anyone that gets near them or threatens them, they burn them. But when the Antichrist or the false prophet kill Noah and Ishmael, it is seen by everybody in the world. Until 60 years ago, nobody knew what that meant. But now, everybody's going to have a cell phone. They could all see it on their own phone. And in the tribulation, all the phones will be hooked together and controlled by the Antichrist. So he could just make everybody watch it. So now, this prophecy, everybody understands it and sees how it can be fulfilled. So I think we're very close to the rapture. All the prophecies which must be fulfilled before his return are completed. He will descend with a shouted command, the voice of an angel, and the trumpet of God. All believers, living and dead, will suddenly meet the Lord in the air. That's our hope to escape the tribulation. The moment after the rapture, the Spirit of God will remove any restraining influence on earth, so that things will be far, far worse than they are today. They'll start having to have the mark of the beast to open a bank account, to get electricity, to buy food, to buy gas. And if you do something against the government, like the Trudeau did in Canada, they just limit your spending. Let's say you have $10,000. They'll say, okay, you can spend $200 a month until they forgive you, or they just take it all. So this is going to be a crazy time. That's what it means by far, far worse. The 7-year tribulation period will see the climax of worsening conditions. The anger of God against the wicked, and the signs of Christ's coming in judgment. Believers alive at the rapture will miss those 7 horrible years. And that's going to be great. That's when the Lamb, Jesus, is starts opening the seals in heaven. The Antichrist will rule wickedly, but just when it seems there is no hope, when the bottom is finally reached and evil rules, the second coming will finally come about, and God's Son will dethrone the beast. The word millennium, that's when we'll be in the millennium. The millennial reign will start after the 7-year tribulation. And the word millennium just means 1,000 years. During those 10 centuries of righteousness, we'll all be all Christians, and it will be like the babies that died, kids under 7 that died, Aborigines, people that never had a chance to accept Jesus. They'll be with us, and we'll be worshiping Jesus. Jesus will be our King on earth. There'll be no eating meat. We'll all be vegetarians, and there'll be a lot of feasts and parties and dancing and singing and celebrating. And those people that never had a chance, they will be given the chance to accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior. We'll have to explain to them the alternative, because they didn't see the world that we saw. Christ will rule on the earth from his capital in Jerusalem. To add to the excitement, John tells us that the followers of Christ will rule with him. And they'll be like preachers and the old saints, and the Elijah and Noah are the 2 witnesses, not the other guy I said. It's Elijah and Noah. They are the 2 witnesses, probably. That'll be in Jerusalem during the 7-year tribulation. Elijah and Noah, all of these prophets will be, I think, his like kings and governors, and they'll have high positions. And the pastors of the world today that are used to leading people and very converted so many souls and helped God so much, they will be rewarded. I'll be happy just to be a gardener. Whatever, clean up the farm. Christ will rule on earth from his capital in Jerusalem. To add to the excitement, John tells us that the followers of Christ will rule with him. So some of us will all have different jobs. Although the physical properties of the new heaven and the new earth are not described in detail, what we are told is enough to fill us with hope and joy. So here is Revelations just in little bullet points. Chapter 1, Introduction and the Blessing. I think we should always read that to get the blessing. Let's see. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show his servants things which must shortly take place, he sent and signified it by his angel to his servant John, who bore witness to the word of God and the testimony of Jesus Christ, to all things that he saw. Blessed is he who reads and those who hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are in it, for the time is near. So we are receiving that blessing. That's the introduction, and then chapters 2 and 3, John transcribes the letters to the 7 churches of Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamos, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. It says, beginning of the church age, the death of Christ. Oh, the death of Christ was the beginning of the church age. The burial of Christ, the resurrection of Christ, and descent of the Holy Spirit. And then rapture. Jesus comes for the church. And in chapters 6 through 8, the Lamb opens the 7 seals. The first seal is a white horse, a conquering power, goes around the earth. The second seal is a red horse, which denotes war and bloodshed. The third seal is released. That's a black horse, which is famine. The fourth seal is opened, which is a pale horse, which is pestilence and death. When the fifth seal is opened, souls are under the altar. The martyrs that died, I think, during the tribulation, they weren't brought up with the rapture. I think there were people that died during the tribulation that converted afterward. And now they're under the throne of God, dressed in white, and they're asking for justice. And the sixth seal, and God says, wait just a little bit longer, I'm going to take care of it. And so they patiently wait. Then the sixth seal is opened, and the whole world trembles. Physical changes. And then the 4 angels are set out to the 4 corners of the earth. God tells them, do not let loose. They're going to let loose these horrible winds. God stops them and says, let me seal the 144,000 witnesses first. So he picks 12,000 from each of 12 tribes of Israel. And 12 times 12 is 144,000. They are witnesses and proselytizing and trying to save as many souls as they can before the second coming. The seventh seal is broken, and it's silence. It's a golden censer. Revelation chapters 8 through 7, we have chapters 8 through 11, we have the 7 trumpets. The first trumpet blows, and it's hail and fire mixed with blood. The second trumpet blows, a mountain thrown into the sea. Now in the first trumpet, the hail and fire mixed with blood, I believe part of that fire and hail is our prayers. So they're saving the prayer. All of our prayers are. Excuse me for that break. That will be done on earth as it is done in heaven. So I think that prayer is kind of going to be like used as ammunition against the Antichrist and the fallen angels and the false prophet. The third trumpet blows, and the star wormwood falls to earth and poisons a third of all the water. The fourth trumpet blows, a third of the sun, moon, and stars are struck. The fifth trumpet blows, a plague of locusts. Oh, these are giant locusts, and they torture men. They don't eat plants or animals. They only bite men. And when you're bitten, you want to die, but you can't die. It's a horrible plague. Then the sixth trumpet blows, and it's release of the 4 angels. The angel and the little book. Then the 2 witnesses come, and the 7th trumpet blows, and woe on earth, and worship in heaven. This is going a little bit too fast. So, thank you very much for listening. I want to reemphasize to you to be positive. Don't dwell on anything negative. Remember, if you get a problem, let's say you get fired at work, for instance, think only 20% of your time on the problem so as to not repeat it and to learn as much as you can from it. 80% of your time you should spend thinking on making improvements, getting ahead, getting your next job, or starting your own business. If you want to start a business, email me. I've got some ideas. I want to start a business right now, but I'm trying to get this non-profit going, Ozark Hunger Relief. I think that would keep me busy, very busy. But that at this rate looks like it might be years away. Anyway, so 20% on the problem, 80% on the solution, and just be positive and try to be happy as much as possible. When you're happy and excited for the day, that's actually fighting disease in your body. It's releasing interleukin-2 and other positive chemicals into your blood that kill cancer, viruses, germs, bacteria. So being happy can really help you. So also, if you're thinking bad things, like you're mad about getting fired or something, when you're thinking bad things, you're repelling good people and you're attracting more bad things to you. So what you want to put out from yourself is positive, success, happiness, and pleasure, good emotions. And then those people, other people like that, will be attracted to you. Negative people will be repelled from you, and negative things. You notice sometimes there are people that everything seems to go right. I think it has a lot to do with their attitude. I used to gamble, and I'd watch, and if I was sad for losing, I couldn't win anymore. But if there was someone laughing and smiling while they were gambling, they kept winning. So there's something that we don't know, we don't see, that rewards happiness and punishes negative emotions. So just try to be happy as much as possible. And I got to wrap this up. So thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And next week will be episode 15, Revelations 8. God bless you. Thank you very much, and goodbye.